You are listening to the Manifested Sis podcast, a safe space for women of color to explore all things manifesting, wellness, self-care, and personal development. You are always manifesting, and now you can do it intentionally and consciously to create the life of your dreams. Each episode gives you actionable tips and strategies from the spiritual to the practical that will help you get from where you are to exactly where you want to be with grace and ease. Thanks for tuning in. Here's your host, intuitive life coach, Dani Faust.
Hello, and welcome back to the Manifest It Sis podcast. I am your host, Dani Faust, and today we are going to be talking with my friend, Bre Mitchell, who is a self-care facilitator as well as the guru behind the Brown Girl Self-Care podcast and website. It's truly a movement, and Bre is spreading self-care all around the nation and around the world. You are going to love her. But before we hop in with Bre, I just want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by me. If you want personalized one-on-one manifesting coaching, reach out to me. My coaching offers mindset, magic, manifesting, motivation, all smushed together to help you create your dream life with ease. Visit okdani.com/life-coaching to learn more. And if you need guidance from spirit on what your next move is, or if you want to know if your current partner is the one, hey, reach out to me for a psychic reading. You can just visit okdani.com/intuitive-reading for more info. Or if you're ready, just book on my Calendly, calendly.com/Coach Dani Faust. Now, let's hop in with Bre from Brown Girl Self-Care.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I am here with Bre Mitchell. She is a self-care facilitator and the host of Brown Girl Self-Care podcast. She's also my boo thing that I have known for many years, and I'm really excited to talk to her today because she is dope with self-care. Hi, Bre.
Hi, Dani. Thanks for having me, girl.
Thank you for being here. I feel like we really need to hear from you right now because we need to facilitate our self-care.
Damn it. Yeah. Oh, can I cuss? I'm sorry.
Who are you talking to?
I just wanted to make sure. I know how you roll, but sometimes, yeah. But yeah, we definitely need some self-care up in this piece. So I'm really excited to talk to you. Yes.
So I'm doing something new with you. Normally I start out with one question, which is, what does manifesting mean to you? But today I feel invigorated. We're going to start with a speed dating question round. All right. So are you ready?
I feel very pressured right now, but because I love you so much, yes, I am ready.
All right, let's do this. Boom. What or who inspires you?
You know, usually I could just give a name, but I honestly think that just Black girls inspire me. I don't know if that's too vague or not clear enough, but honestly, I am inspired by Black women of all kinds. I don't know. I just love being around Black women. I just like learning from Black women. And I feel like I can learn from pretty much anybody. We all have something special that we kind of share. So yeah, I mean, of course, there's like the Oprahs and other famous people, if you will, but, or well-known people, I should say. But really, I don't know. I'm inspired by Black women, especially the ones that are just out there doing their thing. They are the giver of zero dams, and they just go for what they want.
I love it. Hashtag for the culture.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite quote?
One of my favorite quotes is, when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it's better to speak. And that's by Audre Lorde. And basically that is just like, speak your damn truth, sis. Because for a long time, I felt like, for a long time, I felt like I just, and I'm still in this weird space. I just want to make that clear that even though I am the host of Brown Girl Self-Care and I have, social media pages and all that stuff, this is like something that I'm working on like every single day. And sometimes it's a struggle, like a whole ass struggle. But I feel like for a long time, I didn't really have space to just kind of like speak or learn my truth. But now I'm just kind of growing into myself, even though I feel like I feel like I should have been on this journey a little bit sooner than I was. But hindsight is 2020, so you get there when you get there. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just really growing into that, and I just want to do more of that. So right now, that is like one of my favorite quotes. And actually, can I give a second quote? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And it's also by Audre Lorde, and it's if I didn't define myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. And I really just connect with that so much because, again, and I think that kind of related, just being able to figure out what the hell I want, who I want to be. It changes from season to season. It could change from day to day, girl. Like, I know you've seen those memes where Black women will be like, which Black woman do you want today? Because I can be all of them with a different wig and makeup and all that. But I identify with both those quotes, like hardcore so much. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I love both of those a lot. They both speak to authenticity and truth.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel like right now is an especially important time for us to be living in a place of authenticity and speaking our truth loudly, no matter who the hell wants to hear it or not. So
yes, absolutely.
Those are good ones. I'm sure the listeners are writing that one down. It was
yes.
said, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, now that makes me wonder what your favorite book is.
I really don't have a favorite book, if I can be quite honest with you, because I read, or I try to read so many books. I'm like a avid book reader. So I can't say that I have one special book that is like whatever, but current books that I've recently read that really were just like, yeah, I'm feeling this. Tina Lifford has a book, The Little Book of Big Lies. I really like that book. And then the other one is The Body Is Not an Apology, The Power of Radical Self-Love by Sonia Taylor. So those two really resonated with me amongst several, that I've read in the last year.
I am so excited that you told me those. I never heard of either. Normally when I ask people this question, they say something I've already read more than once. So you just got me really excited to check these two books out.
Awesome.
That. And what is the best advice that you've received lately or ever? How?
Oh, gosh. Some of the best advice that I've gotten a few times, even from you, but I've heard it, and it's finally started to connect in like the last couple of years, is just to show up for myself and to stop shrinking. Like, stop shrinking, because I tend to, because I'm an introvert by heart, number one. And I tend to, like, I can just, for example, like if I went somewhere in a group setting, I'm the person that would just like sit back and chill and just like observe everyone. And they're just out there living their best life and, going for it and doing all these things. But I'm just like observing and just kind of like seeing, like reading the room and seeing what's going on and seeing if I feel comfortable kind of, getting out there. But true friends have told me, like, girl, I mean, in various ways, you need to like really get your life, stop playing, and realize how amazing you are, and stop like selling yourself short. So that is some advice that I do really take to heart. And it's hard, old habits die hard, but I'm really, really in this self-care journey. That is one of the things that I'm trying my best to realize, appreciate about myself, and to just be more open.
Yeah. I'd like to hear about your self-care journey. What was your journey from before self-care entered your life and now after you're being diligent about it?
Yeah, I would say that I like for real, officially started my self-care journey probably in the last, maybe like 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. That's when I really started to get serious with it, because up until that time and before then, like if you name it, I've gone through it. Okay. Like fibroids, anemia, depression, hating my job, shrinking at my job, being under the white gaze and just feeling some kind of way at work, and just feeling anxiety about having to go in every day. being abused as a child in various ways, being in a super, super unhealthy relationship that had me questioning my sole existence, and I was hating life. And there have been times, oh God, I feel like I want to cry. I'm sorry. There have been times where just before that, like if it had not been for my daughter, Kiwi, if it had not been for my daughter being in this world present with me, Dani, I can't even tell you if I would even still be here or not. Like, that's real talk. I don't even know. Okay. She has been the reason on a couple of occasions where I've said, you know what, the only reason I'm here and I have to be here is because of her. Thankfully, I don't have that thought process anymore, but that is like 100% real talk. So I realized that I had to make some changes. And on top of that, in 2017, as you know, we've talked about this before, my brother was shot and killed. And I was just in a really weird space with that for a few reasons. But so yeah, around that time, I just said to myself that something has to change. Something has to change. I cannot continue on this way. I got to figure out how I'm going to get to a place where I can accept myself for who I am, love myself, value myself, take care of myself the way that I deserve. Because up until, and it will fluctuate. Some years I will be like really taking care of myself. Other years it will be just like, I don't even care about myself. Okay. I don't give a damn about myself. So I just had to come to a point, like have a come to Jesus with myself and just be like, something's got to change because this is getting really bad. So yeah.
I just want to say thank you for sharing that candidly with us.
Yeah,
I want the listeners to really take that to heart, what she said. Now, she is a self-care facilitator. She's a leader of many women on their self-care journeys. And even she is saying that it's not every day that you're 100%. And I want you to hear that coming from her. And I feel the same. I'm the exact same way. I want you to hear that coming from us so that you allow yourself to not be perfect. So you give yourself grace on those weeks when you don't do shit for yourself and you're like, oh, I should. I want you to be gentle with yourself because no one's ever going to be 1000% all the time.
Right.
So now you are more diligent with your self-care versus in the past. So how do you, as a professional self-care facilitator, how do you define self-care for the women you work with?
Self-care for me is really about doing the things that I need to do and checking in with myself in such a way that I am better off once I've done it. I'm seeing what I need in that space and allowing myself the space, being vulnerable and saying, what do I need right now? Because I didn't used to ask myself that question ever. I was just like rolling with it. Whatever came up, I'm just rolling with it. Angry emotions, bitter emotions, no emotions, happy, sad. I don't know what's going on. I would just roll with it, So now it's about me being intentional about making space for myself. That's what self-care is to me. And just making sure I have what I need, or if I don't have what I need, figuring out how I can get it. And this is not about, necessarily financially. It's just more so about, how do I feel within my body? What's my mood like? Like, have I eaten today? Because there's many days that I just, and what am I putting into my body? Food wise and, images and news articles and books and social media, like all of that stuff, So that's what self-care is for me, making space to check in with myself, make sure I'm good.
It sounds like hella mindfulness and hella smart choices coming from love.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's always smart choices, but I love that you said choice because it really is a choice. And I've kind of come to a place where I try not to feel bad about my choices, even if it's a quote unquote not so good or choice, like I'm saying, okay, either I'm going to do X or I'm going to do Z, and I'm going to be okay with it either way. You know what I mean? And not feel guilty about it. Like it's just a choice that I'm making. And every choice has a pro and every choice sometimes will have a consequence, and it is what it is. But yeah, that's what it is for me. That's what it is for me.
I like that. And I like the grace that you give yourself. So do you have a daily self-care routine or certain types of self-care activities that you do? And if so, what does that look like for you on a daily?
Yeah, sometimes I stick to the same routine more or less, but then, it's really just depends on what you need. You know what I mean? And sometimes your body will tell you, hey, this ain't working today. So we got to do something else, but usually my self-care is centered around like I journal. Like when I first get up in the morning, I try, sometimes I'm not always successful, but I try to get up and pray, read my Bible, stretch and move my body, journal. I read, I read a lot, but I try to read something or get something in my ear that is positive or will make me think something good. You know what I mean? Also, I've been going for walks. Like I have made it a point now to make sure that I walk at least a mile most days of the week. And I'll go longer, if I want to, but at least getting that mile in, staying hydrated, drinking a ton of water. I've recently had to eliminate pretty much candy from my diet because I realized that it was, honest to goodness, making me sick, like for real sick. And so I said, again, choices, right? You can either continue to feel sick and your body doesn't like this. Clearly, you can't eat like you used to when you're in your 20s and 30s, or you're going to have to eliminate it. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a few weeks since I've put down the M&Ms and the fruit snacks, and I feel so much better. So again, like I said, it's just listening to the signals. Your body's always giving you signals of some sort, and it'll tell you more of that or less of that. It's just sometimes we choose to ignore what it's saying. And that's when it will backfire on your ass in a huge way, depending on what it is. And then you have this even bigger battle or thing, that you have to now deal with instead of just like listening when your body told you, girl, you don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Stop tripping. But so that for me is what self-care is.
I like that. And I love that you have a nice, well-rounded type of routine. So you have moving your body, you have the choices that you're making about what you're putting into your body, but then there's also the spiritual aspect of the prayer, of putting in only positivity input, I guess. I like that it's a well-rounded kind of toolbox that you have that you use. But what do you do when you get off track? What happens if you backslide, or like how do you recover?
Can I go back to that other question really quick though?
Of course.
I forgot to say a really big part of self-care for me is rest. Like for real, like rest. Like I have.
Please explain that to me. I've never heard of it before.
Have you heard of rest, child?
No. What is this? Please do tell.
Girl, like rest and making room to breathe. I forgot to say that, but I do that a lot too. Like just taking some time in the morning, putting my hand over my heart, closing my eyes, or sometimes I will envision myself. How can I explain this? Sometimes to make it more intentional with my breathing, I will close my eyes and then, this is going to sound strange, but I do it. Like I imagine my hand, and then so I'll see my hand in my mind. I'll see like my hands, like if I want them to have like nail polish on the fingers, or if I'm holding a special pen or a piece of chalk or whatever, and if I'm writing on a chalkboard or a piece of paper, but I'll see my hand and I'll just go from like 0 to 100, but I'll see my hand in my mind, like writing out the numbers. And that helps me to stay focused and in the moment. Like I'm just envisioning that. So taking time for breathing and rest are like at the top of my list, like 100%. So I wanted to make sure that I said that. And then you said, what do I do if I backslide?
Yes, but before you get to it, so you're sitting, you're calm, you're breathing. And so with each breath, you're writing 0 through 100 per each breath, like to help you count and kind of stay focused on that?
No, I keep my breathing natural when I do that. Like there's a few different ways I breathe, but for that, I just keep my breathing like natural because, and I just focus on the actual writing of the numbers because it just helps me to stay in that space. So I'm not really necessarily focused when I do that exercise on my breathing. I just let my breath comes as it comes. And because it naturally, for me at least, it naturally already kind of like slows down and gets more gentle as I'm trying to focus on making those numbers. You know what I mean? So I just focus on making the numbers and my body just kind of like naturally falls into this, this flow.
I like that. I've never heard that technique before, but I'm going to try it tonight.
Yeah, I had never heard of that either, but I just stumbled upon it and I was like, oh man, it really it feels good. So I just do it.
Love it. I'm big into visualizations as an alternative to like Zen Buddhist meditation or that silent clearing your mind type of meditation. So I'm definitely going to try it. And I'm pretty sure the listeners are going to try it too. Oh, but yes,
awesome.
What I was asking was, when you get off track, what do you do? How do you kind of recover and get back in alignment?
Well, there are some times that I can go for a few days and I can totally tell when my self-care is out of whack, because after like maybe a day or two, I just start to feel really, I don't know, I just feel weird. Like I don't feel like myself, or my attitude is a little more bitchier than normal, or something just feels out of whack. Never. But because I know I'm an angel, but no, like if I might be a little snarkier or just something like, or I feel like listless, like I don't know, but I can just tell something's out of whack. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't journaled, I haven't took time to breathe, I haven't prayed, what's going on? Is this my life right now? And so I just kind of have this like reality check. I don't do this whole doom and gloom thing with myself, because life happens. And right now, especially now, we're in a really overwhelmingly hectic space. So I do not, shit on myself and be like, oh, this is why, you should be doing your self-care. And this is why, blah, 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 blah. The old me, that's the difference. The old me, I would be beating myself up like so much. And that's one of the biggest benefits I've noticed about self-care. And there's been a few. I used to be so hard on myself, so nasty to myself, like so just the things that I would say to myself, like you would never say these things, to anyone. And that's been one of the biggest benefits of self-care. I don't really do that as much. I'll slip up every once in a while, but I'm human. I'm not perfect, but it has been such a drastic difference. So yeah, when I get out of whack, I just make space to get back into it. And I don't overwhelm myself. I don't try to do 75 things at one time. I'll just see what feels good. You haven't journaled in a while. Let's journal, and just start with that. Because what I find is that once you kind of do that one thing, you just want to do, something else. It just kind of, you just kind of keep going with it. Yeah. So that's what I do.
Do you have any particular journaling techniques or prompts that you like to use?
Oh gosh, depending on the book that I read, like for example, I'm looking at a quote right now that's on my wall calendar. I can't remember what book this came from. Gosh. In any case, there's a book that I read that had these journal, like they weren't really journal prompts, but they were just like questions to think of. And I wrote one down that says, what am I not saying that needs to be said? I wrote that down because I usually bottle stuff up. And I won't say stuff. So I have to ask myself, what am I not saying that needs to be said? So I will get prompts from books depending on what I'm reading. That's one thing. I use a bullet journal. And I think that if you're new to journaling is like it's as big as you want to make it. It's as small as you want to make it, because you can just go super extreme and jazz up and zhuzh up your journal and do all these things. I was that journaler probably like 5-7 years ago. Now I'm not with the shits. I don't even want to do all that. I just give me a plain journal with dotted, like the bullet journals, and let me do what I need to do with the pen and paper. And that's it. Yes. Oh, you you prefer lined paper?
Yeah, I'm not a bullet girl, but I'm just plain. So I can put whatever I want there. I don't want you to prompt me. I'm going to say what I feel like.
Yes, that's basically it. So that book, or there's a book called The Artist's Way. Actually, I have it right here. It's called The Artist's Way. And of course, this is not a video, but I am showing Dani the book. And in it, she talks about morning pages. And that's an exercise I try to do every day. And basically, it's just 3 pages. Oh, it's 3 pages of uncensored, unabashed. You just write whatever the hell you want to write.
Brain dump. Yep. And
get it all out on the paper. And that's it. So I do that too. Sometimes I've drawn in my journal and chicken scratched. And, sometimes you go to your journal and you just write like one word. It could be like fuck, because you're mad. And I don't feel like writing anything else. But Yeah, that's what I do.
I love that. Journaling is one of my favorite ways to kind of get centered, get shit out of my head.
Yeah, for sure.
You touched on this a little bit when you mentioned that before self-care, you would beat up on yourself. And after kind of coming to the self-care routine, you're much easier on yourself and you give yourself more grace. But what are the other benefits that you've noticed about, creating a great and consistent self-care routine for yourself?
Yeah. In general, I am happier. And you may not be able to tell because I'm not like a super smiley person all the time. I'm just very like
chill.
And this is it. You know what I'm saying?
She's a chill California girl. If you don't know Bre, you should be listening to her podcast and checking out her site. But she's a very chill California girl. I'm sorry. Continue.
I am. I sometimes I would love to be more bubbly, and sometimes I am. It just depends. But for the most part, I'm just very even toned. This is what you get. But even though I might have like resting bitch face, inside, Dani, I'm a happier person. So that's one of the benefits that I've noticed. Also, I have more grace to extend to my daughter. That's a huge one for me. And I wish I would have started this years ago because I would have been a different kind of parent. So that's another benefit. And let's see. Also, just taking care of myself, like taking care of my weight. Now, I have definitely gained a few pounds in the last few months, and I'm going to blame that on hashtag COVID-19 because COVID-19 forced me to fry chicken and French fries and eat all the bread and snacks and all that stuff. That was totally COVID's fault.
Yeah, I blame Corona for that too.
Yeah, see, it's not us. It's not us.
It's her. But no responsibility. I'm taking none.
I'm not taking no responsibility for it because it's not my fault. But with that said, self-care, it helps me to realize that my health is important. And so I do take that more seriously. And also helps me to just manage my emotions better. And it helps me to speak up more and set boundaries that I wasn't able to do before.
So it's impacted your outside life as well, like career and home life and interactions externally as well. Right. Are there unexpected things that happen in that way?
Well, for sure, because I quit my job in 2019 because I was just like completely done. I felt like I was being used, abused, and thrown away and told that I should be thankful to have this job for this big organization that I worked for. And self-care helped me to basically step out on faith and say, screw you. I'm going to go with God on this one. And we're going to see what happens. And that was like one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. I mean, I went from making on a good year because my salary would fluctuate because I was in sales, but let's say on average, 55,000, sometimes more, 60, 65,000, but let's say on average $55,000 a year as a single parent, that's a lot of money. And I was able just to walk away from that and step out on faith. And I think self-care had a lot to do with that because it is enabling me to be more bold and to make more courageous choices for myself and to realize that I want more out of life. I deserve more out of life. We only have one life to live. I don't want to waste it. And I felt like I was wasting it. And so that was also like a big thing that I can attribute to self-care. I was able to see myself as this whole person deserving of beautiful experiences. And so I left my job.
Was there something for you? Because I know that you've read a lot of personal development and self-help and spiritual type of books and content. I know you were consuming that for a while. And I know then you made a switch and now have really been focused on your self-care and your growth. What was the like turning point? What was the mindset shift? What was the like flip that switched that got you from consuming the information and then actually making those changes in your life? Because so many people just consume, and then they know in their head, I should be doing XYZ, but they're not doing it. What took you from learning to actually doing?
That's a good question. I think it was a culmination of things, but if I had to identify by one thing, I would say it really started to kick into overdrive after my brother was killed. I think that's what it was for me, or at least in part, because also, like I said, I think right before that, maybe like a year or two before, is when I went through that. I had like a year of depression and I was off of work for a whole year. I literally took care of my kid and slept on the couch almost 24 hours a day. That was my life for pretty much an entire year. And then seeing my doctor too, of course. So after that is when my brother was killed. And I think that was really, after all those things that kind of happened. Oh, and on top of that, so wait a minute. So I think at that time I was also in that toxic, it was like everything was kind of coming to a head. I feel like sometimes everything is like these signs saying, what are you doing? Why are you not taking charge of your life? What's happening right now? Why are you letting all this stuff? Why are you not controlling life instead of letting life control you, you know? So it was like my brother being killed. At that same time, I was in a toxic ass relationship, like I mentioned before. Finally got out of that relationship in August of 2016, actually. 2016. Actually, no. So yeah, August 2016, finally got out of a relationship. My brother was killed that next year. And it was during those times where finally the light bulb just kind of went off. And I was like, enough, you know, this is enough.
Yeah.
So that was what it was for me. And it was around that time that I really started to get serious. And then I think in 2018 is when I decided to make the Brown Girl Self-Care, like Instagram and the website or whatever. But yeah, it was that, like all those huge life moments just came to a head. And I was just like, enough.
I love that. And I love that you're now using all that you went through to inform how you're guiding women with Brown Girl Self-Care. I love that. So specifically with Black women, how important do you feel self-care is, especially for the Black woman who's like, well, I'm a single mom, I'm working a job or two, I have big dreams, but reality is I don't have time, I'm just trying to survive. What do you say to that type of woman?
I would say, sis, I love you, but I'm going to be your friend right now and give it to you straight. You need to make the time, because if you don't, the time is going to be made for you and you're not going to like it. It's going to happen. Life is going to put you on your ass. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make the time. And self-care, it doesn't have to be this super evolved, I'm doing 75 things. I don't even want to do 75 things a day. Like most of the stuff that I do for self-care, I can do as soon as I wake up and not even leave my bed, you know, and I can do it. I can take as long as I want. If I only have 30 minutes to spare, I can do it in 30 minutes. If I have an hour to spare, I can do it in an hour. Like it doesn't have to be, if I only have time, 10 minutes in a day on my work break, for example, to go to my car on my break and breathe. Leave that work environment and go to my car and have 10 minutes to myself on my break and breathe. That is self-care. It doesn't have to be this super complex, drawn out, expensive, you see everybody doing it, so I got to do it too kind of thing. That's just it. You make it what it is for you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the misconceptions about self-care is that because what we're fed is that it's a spa day or a lady in a soaking tub with cucumbers on her eyes. And that is self-care, but that's not all self-care is. So I like that you gave her real talk.
Yeah, I was going to say agreed. Also, it's like for everyone, self-care is different. Like for me, self-care is also looking at my lifestyle. And I know that I want to lead a more minimalist lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at ways I can cut back. That makes me feel good. That's self-care. It's also for me, like looking at my finances and getting control of my spending and not going out. Because I was like I got to buy everything. I got to buy everything. I got to have everything. I have to have the latest, the greatest, the this, the that. I got to keep up with everybody. I know that $65,000 sounds like a lot, but when you live in California and you are a single parent and you are paying for everything, that's not a lot of money, okay? It's just not a lot of money. You know, kids are expensive. Living in California is expensive, especially Southern California. So it's also for me self-care about realizing that, I need to be in better control of how I'm choosing to spend my money, and stop accumulating debt and going into debt trying to keep up with this experience because I feel like it's going to make me be perceived better, but it could be different for every single person. That's why I said self-care is just so personal. So it's way beyond the soaking and the bath bombs and getting your hair done and nails done, and which is all, to me, every woman deserves. If that's what makes you feel beautiful and helps you feel special and appreciated, go for it. I think that's amazing. I'm all for it. But it, in my opinion, needs to we need to dig a little deeper and go beyond the superficial or the surface level of what self-care is. Taking care of your health, getting your boobs checked, all that stuff is self-care. So
for that woman who said she didn't have the time, you've convinced her that, okay, she has half an hour. What would you suggest she do to start? What's the first place she should look? Hashtag within, but
I would just say if you find 30 minutes a day, maybe spend that first week in just quiet reflection. See what you need. You don't have to jump out and do and buy and get and try. Just sit in quiet reflection or prayer or whatever, meditation, whatever it is that you do, and just see. Your body will tell you what you need. And what's even more amazing is once you kind of dip your toe into self-care, I feel like the world kind of opens up and you'll start noticing, oh, that's what self-care is. You can look to people for cues, but do your own thing. But I think that once you are accepting and opening yourself up to saying, you know what, I'm going to start taking care of myself, you'll start, to see little different hints, here and there that you may want to try, and incorporate into your practice. So I would say don't jump out and do a million things. Do one thing. If your body feels tight, maybe just for the first however many days, just spend 20 minutes just stretching and moving your body and getting in the mirror and getting comfortable, with, just moving your body and just putting on some music and feeling free. When I put on music and just like move my body, I just feel freaking amazing. It just feels amazing. So you don't have to do a million things. Just start with one thing. It could be that you say in the mornings before the kids get up, I'm going to go downstairs and just sit on the patio with a cup of tea and just listen to the birds chirp. And I'll do that for 30 minutes. Make that your one thing, but just make the time above everything else. Just make the time.
I love that. I have a weird question for you. Do you think...
Oh, gosh.
Well, it's not that weird. Do you think that there is such a thing as too much self-care? Can someone go overboard with it?
That's a good question. The only reason I'm gonna say no is because Black women don't do enough.
Agreed. Say it again.
So I'm gonna have to say no. Like, I understand the question, and I guess for maybe some people do, I guess, but as a whole, Black women don't take care of themselves enough. So I just don't feel. Let's get to a place where it's overboard for everybody, and then we'll answer that question, because we ain't there yet. So, we're not there. We have a long way to go. Black women, we just have a long way to go. And there can never be too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like we might think it's too much, but we're just getting started.
Yeah.
So what is your one overarching message that you want Black women to know about self-care or about self-love at large?
Gosh, so many things. Let's see. I guess the main thing that I would want Black women to know is that, gosh, this is a tough one because there's so many things I want to say. The one main thing I would say,
Okay, top 3.
No, I want to say one. Okay. So I'm going to say the overarching thing that I would say is that, gosh, self-care it's your right. It is your right to have self-care. and you got to snatch it by any means necessary, because the world is going to dictate what you do, how you should do it, when you should do it, what it should look like, and you will not have any space for yourself in the day. We built this damn country on our backs, and the country is still reaping huge benefits from that, but they're not giving us any space to take care of ourselves. And so you got to take it. You got to take it by any means necessary. Like I said, it's your right, and you got to take it, because like I said, life has a way of sneaking up on you and just throwing you on your ass. And you don't want to be in that position. I think that if we take the time now to kind of like fill up our self-care banks, because life is going to happen regardless. And you want to just have your self-care bank so overflowing that when these things come up, because they will come up, things are going to happen since we cannot control everything. When those things come up, you won't be as depleted as if you never were making time for self-care or it wasn't consistent. You would be just even worse. You know what I mean? Hopefully that made sense. But yeah.
Yeah, it is our right. We deserve it.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about your movement. I don't even want to say it's a podcast or a website. I mean, it's a movement. Tell us about Brown Girl Self-Care.
So yeah, Brown Girl Self-Care, really I started it for me. I just wanted to be in the space of really just kind of like reminders for Black women that, you know, your self-care matters. And it kind of grew from there. I started to realize, like, it's been evolving in the last, it's constantly evolving, but ultimately I've determined that the way that Brown Girl Self-Care can serve Black women is just making space for us to connect with each other and make space for us to breathe. Those are like my two main like missions, if you will, because something powerful, I noticed something powerful happened during those times, like how we're communing right now. There's something amazing happening right now, and we're just two people. Just imagine, yes, heart. Just imagine a group of Black women together, you know, sharing, supporting, lifting each other up, crying when we need to cry, and not judging each other for our experiences. So just making that space for sisterhood is one thing that I'm definitely like, from now until forever, I'm going to do that. And then also with that experience, like making space for us to just, you know, just to be silent and just to breathe, because I don't think we do that enough. I mean, yes, obviously our bodies naturally breathe. That's how we live. I get that. But I'm talking about intentional, soul, just touching, heart, just overwhelming, just being connected with your breath. That's just so powerful to me. So that's also my mission. And in a perfect world, I would love to be able to like have some kind of business or traveling something. I don't even know, but just to be able to go and just connect with Black women, have us have these little sister circles, share, uplift, connect, take time to just to be quiet and just be connected with each other and just to breathe. Like I want to do that. Like I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do with Brown Girl Self-Care. So that's what it's about for me.
I love it. You heard it here first. Pop-up breath work sessions coming soon with Bre in your neighborhood. Watch out for it.
Awesome.
I love that. So where can we find you? Where can everyone who's listening who has already fallen in love with you find you?
Oh, yeah. So I have the Brown Girl Self-Care podcast, which you can find on like iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify. And I release an episode every Monday morning. And then, of course, you can find Brown Girl Self-Care on like Facebook and Instagram. You can go to browngirlselfcare.com. And also, every month, I do offer a 7-day self-care experience. You can find out more information about that on the site. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, guys, I'm going to have all the links to the books that Bre mentioned, all the links to find her and her podcast and her site and her challenge, her 7-day challenge. All of that will be in the show notes for you. Bre, I want to say a big fat thank you for sharing your self-care wisdom with us today. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I love you, Dani.
I love you back, boo. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll be back next week with another amazing episode.